Hi students. Welcome back to my channel. I have a question for you. Can you relate to this? I understand English, but I can't speak it fluently. I receive countless emails and questions from students, and the vast majority of them express this same frustration. Do you feel like you've spent hours, days, even years studying English, only to freeze when it's time to speak? The words just vanish. Your grammar disappears. Your pronunciation stumbles, and your vocabulary. It feels like it has gone down the drain. By the way, to go down the drain is an idiom that means to disappear. If this sounds like you, don't worry. This lesson is here to help. I want to equip you with practical techniques that will boost your confidence and help you speak English fluently. But before we dive into solutions, we need to understand why this happens. After all, we can't fix a problem unless we know the root cause. So, not only will this lesson improve your speaking skills, but it will also strengthen your listening skills, pronunciation, and vocabulary. And at the end of the video, you can test your understanding by asking questions in the comments. Why can't you speak English fluently? Many students say, I understand English, but I struggle to speak it. Why is that? Well, it's because understanding a language requires receptive skills, listening and reading. Most English learners focus on input. They watch English movies, YouTube videos, and TV shows. They listen to podcasts and read English books. And this is fantastic. It helps you build vocabulary and understand how English works, but, and there's always a but, this doesn't necessarily improve your ability to speak. Speaking requires productive skills, which means you have to be more active in your learning. Instead of just absorbing the language, you need to produce it. Unfortunately, speaking opportunities are much harder to find than listening opportunities. Not everyone can travel to an English-speaking country, hire a personal tutor, or find an English-speaking friend. That's why I've met so many students who are grammar geniuses. They know all the rules better than native speakers. But when it comes to practical conversations, they struggle. They know the theory, but not the application. So today, I have 6 practical tips that will help you break free from this struggle. Tip number 1, talk to yourself. This tip is completely free, and it works. I used it myself when I was learning Spanish. One of the easiest ways to practice speaking is to talk to yourself. It might feel a little strange at first, but trust me, it's a game changer. You already talk to yourself in your mind, right? Most of us do. That inner voice usually speaks in your native language. But what if you switched it to English? For example, instead of thinking, I need to do the dishes, say out loud, I am washing the dishes. I am scrubbing the plate with a sponge. I hope my husband brings pizza for dinner tonight. Speaking out loud is crucial because it helps you practice forming new sounds and words in your mouth. But if you're in a place where you can't speak aloud, simply narrating in your mind is a great way to start. Now, here's how you can supercharge this method. Every time you struggle to find the right word, write it down. Keep a vocabulary diary. In the past, I told my students to use a notebook, but now, thanks to technology, you can simply use your phone. If you don't know a word, quickly note it in your phone's notes app or even record it with your smartwatch. Then, later in the evening, take 5 minutes to look up the words and practice using them in sentences. This small habit will rapidly expand your vocabulary, without much effort. Tip number 2, talk to a tutor. Talking to yourself is great, but at some point, you need real conversation practice. This is where a tutor becomes incredibly helpful. Why is a tutor better than just speaking with any English speaker? 3 reasons. 1, you control the conversation. With a tutor, you can practice specific situations where you've struggled before. For example, if you once froze at a networking event when someone asked, "What do you do for a living?" You can practice that exact conversation so you never struggle again. 2. You get corrections. A tutor can pinpoint your mistakes in grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. But more importantly, they can help you sound more natural and confident. 3. It's a safe space. Many students fear making mistakes because they feel embarrassed. But with a tutor, you don't have to worry. Their job is to help you improve, and they are used to working with learners just like you. Tip number 3, write it down first. Another powerful technique is to write before you speak. Of course, you can't always carry a notebook and write down every sentence before a conversation. That's impractical. But you can prepare for common situations. Think about the questions you get asked the most, like, where are you from? What do you do for a living? How did you learn English? Prepare short, natural-sounding answers and practice saying them out loud. This technique, often called the elevator pitch, helps you sound confident and fluent. Tip number 4, focus on fluency, not perfection. One of the biggest mistakes students make is aiming for perfect grammar instead of smooth communication. Let me tell you a secret, even native speakers make grammar mistakes. Your goal is not to impress people with perfect grammar. Your goal is to be understood. If you fear making mistakes, you'll hesitate to speak, and hesitation kills fluency. Instead of being afraid, embrace mistakes as learning opportunities. Some of my funniest and most memorable moments while learning Spanish came from mistakes I made. So, don't stress, just speak. Tip number 5, try shadowing. Shadowing is an advanced technique that can dramatically improve your pronunciation and fluency. It works like this: 1. Listen to a native English speaker in a video or podcast. 2. Try to repeat exactly what they say, as they say it. 3. Don't worry about understanding every word, just mimic the sounds. Rhythm and intonation. This technique helps train your brain and mouth to speak English naturally. If you want me to make a separate video on how to shadow effectively, let me know. Tip number 6, practice, practice, practice. The only way to truly improve is through consistent practice. Speaking a new language isn't about talent, it's about training your brain and muscles to produce new sounds and words automatically, so start today. Talk to yourself, find a tutor, write down your thoughts, and embrace mistakes. Over time, you will see progress, and one day, speaking English fluently will feel natural. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's your biggest struggle when it comes to speaking English? Let me know in the comments. And I'll be happy to help. Keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.